Welcome, my name is Sue, and today we're doing a gentle yoga flow class that will stretch out the entire body. To make this class a little bit more comfortable for you, have yourself a blanket handy, a couple of blocks of something that can double as a couple of blocks, and a bolster, a firm bolster or a firm pillow will do. Let us begin with some centering. Sit in a comfortable position with one shin in front of the other, easy pose. Place your hands on your thighs or on your knees and close your eyes. We'll begin with deeper inhales and longer exhales. Breathing in and out through the nose. Slow down your breath and take deeper inhales. Feel your belly rise, your chest expand. Feel your collarbone spread. And then as you exhale, press out all that stale air. Slow it down. Draw it out. And with your next exhale, soften your facial features and allow your shoulders and arms to relax. Allow your belly to be at ease, your low back and spine, and soften your legs. Relax your feet and toes. As your entire body begins to relax, allow the mind to find a still point. So put aside the past, the present. Allow your mind to be present, to be in the moment. Take one more big inhale. And exhale. Gently open your eyes and welcome. So you can go ahead and switch those legs around. Anytime you need to switch it, you don't have to wait for my cue. Just placing your hands on your knees or on your shins. Start with an inhale to lean slightly forward, and as you exhale, draw back. Inhale forward, exhale back. Keep going. Start to exaggerate the movement of your spine. As you inhale, draw your chest forward, and as you exhale, round the spine. So you're coming to cats and cows. Well, it is seated cats and cows. So move with the breath. Inhale forward, and exhale back. Next time you're leaning forward, take it into a circular movement. Upper body rotates over to one side, back and around. It can be a smaller circle, it can be big. Pay attention to the sensations of the body as you circle the upper body. It can be your low back, the spine, the shoulders and neck that's feeling the movement. And switch directions. Find your way back to seated tall. And anytime you need to switch those legs around, go for it. All right, let's place the right hand on the ground. Right hand on the ground. Take your left hand, reach it up towards the ceiling, and reach over to the opposite side. Inhale, come back to the center, and then reach over to the other side. Flowing with your breath. Inhale, center, exhale, over. Keep going. Next time you have that left hand reaching up and over, hold it here. Press down into that right hand. Press the left hip down into the ground, maybe peek towards the ceiling to prevent that left shoulder from collapsing down. You want to open up. One more deep breath. And reach in a semicircle in front of you. Draw a big circle and come back up to seated. And do the same thing on the other side. Press that right hip down, lift the right hand up and over. A big reach. Breathe. And sweep the arm out in front of you, a big circle. And come back up to seated. Take that right hand down, left hand reaching up and over. And this time, as you come back up, take that left hand and cup it across the opposite ear. Relax the shoulders and let that left ear gently drop down towards the left shoulder. Don't pull too hard into the neck, into the head. You just want to keep the stretch really gentle. And then we'll release that. Place that left hand on the ground. Take the right hand, reach it up and over. And as you come back up, take the next stretch. Right ear towards the right shoulder. Good. And then find your way back to the middle. Take an inhale to roll the shoulders up towards the ears and exhale, roll it back down. A few more times like this on your own. Deliberate, smooth circles. And then switch directions. Excellent, and release and soften. Turn your gaze over to one shoulder, rotate the chin down towards the chest, over to the other side, and do the same thing again. One more. Good, and then finding your way back to the middle. Again, we can take a moment to switch those legs around. You can just shake it out as well, a little as well. Okay, so seated tall, place your palms up, and with your inhale, sweep the arms up and over. Let's warm up those shoulders a little bit more. Release. Inhale, reach your arms up, and then exhale, release. Okay, keep going. Inhale, palms up. Exhale, turn the palms down and soften. Once more. We'll start to add a twist to the spine. Inhale, reach your arms up. And exhale, twist over to the right side. Just let the arms relax where they will. Inhale, back up and then over to the other side. So simple, with the movement, with the breath. Back to the center and over to that left side, and come back to the middle. This time as you take it over to the right, maybe the left hand can hold on to the opposite thigh. If it doesn't, then land it wherever it will. Take another inhale to sit just a little taller, and then as you exhale, turn your gaze over that right shoulder. Your right hand is just lightly touching the ground. Try not to lean back too much into that hand. Great, one more deep breath. And come on back to the center, reach those arms up and over, and then do the same thing on the other side. Inhale to sit just a little taller, and exhale to twist. And then come on back to the center, release. Switch those legs around once again. Okay. So next, we'll take our inhale to sweep the arms up and over, and bring those arms into a cactus position. Okay. And as you stay here, you're going to draw your belly in, make sure you're seated tall, and take one elbow under the other. In this case, I've got the left elbow under the right. And it doesn't matter, just allow the shoulders to relax. Allow the elbows to lift up a little higher, maybe about shoulder height, and then breathe. If you want a little bit more, you can press the arms forward, away from the chest as best as you can. It's going to be a really small movement, not too much. Good. I forgot to mention, if that doesn't work for you today, back of the hands pressing together, or even just grabbing opposite shoulders will do. One more deep breath. And just take note of which elbow is under. You want to make sure you switch it around. Okay, let's make sure it's the other elbow that's under. For your eagle arms, take your other options. if you need to. One more deep breath. Inhale, sweep those arms up and over. And then as you exhale, reach behind you, interlace the fingers, and try to place the palms in close towards one another. Try to bring the palms close towards one another. Press the hands away from the body. Turn your gaze up towards the ceiling. You should be expanding your chest up as you do that, as best as you can. One more deep breath. And then release. Just place your hands by your sides and soles of the feet together, knees open up. Hold on to your feet, onto your shins. Inhale to lift and lengthen that spine. Exhale, fold forward. Gentle rounding of the spine here is okay. Chin tucks in a little is fine. Just one more deep breath. Inhale, come on back up to seated. Help those knees back together. Hands slightly behind you, just supporting you. Let the feet be about hips width apart. And draw both knees over to the left side. Inhale back to the center and over to the right. And it doesn't have to be as big a movement as I'm doing here. It can be just a slight shift side to side. One more on each side. Exhale. And then finding your way back to the center. Next, we're going to make our way into a tabletop pose. So you'll be on your knees, and if your mat's a little thin and you don't have any carpeting underneath you, a blanket is really nice, just for a little cushion. So come on down onto your hands and knees in tabletop position. Knees about hips width apart, spreading the fingers wide, the wrists are under the shoulders. Okay, and if it's a little bit more comfortable for you to curl the toes under, you'll do that. If not, toes are pointed straight back. Pressing the belly down towards the ground, lift your chin and chest presses through the arms. Cow pose. Next, exhale. Round the spine, coming into cat pose. Inhale, belly drops. Lift the chin, tailbone high. Exhale, arch the spine. Cat pose. Inhale, belly drops, cow pose. And you can either come into your cat pose as you've done before, or as you exhale, draw back as though you're coming into child's pose. Let the head drop, hips reaching down towards the heels. Inhale, come back up. Belly drop, lift the chin. As you exhale, either cat pose or draw back, child's pose. Inhale, come on up. Cow pose. And then exhale, draw back into child's pose. Any child's pose you like. Maybe you prefer your knees a little wider and toes together, but sink into your child's pose. If you're not comfortable reaching your arms out in front of you, you can make fists with your hands to rest your head on the hands, or you can even grab a hold of your prop and place your head on the prop instead. So child's pose, allow the arms to stretch out or be by your side. While remaining in child's pose, walk your hands over to the left side of the mat or just your head, as long as you're feeling a stretch to the right side of the body. And then allow yourself to sink back into your child's pose. Come on back to the center. Do the same thing on the other side. Just open up to that right side of the body, walking your hands towards the right side. And take an inhale, come on back to the middle. Press up into your tabletop once again, making sure that your alignment is right. So knees about hips width apart, and you've got your hands, your wrists about shoulders width apart. Okay. Take the right leg and stretch it back, about hip height. Okay. Hold it there. Engage your core, draw the belly in, press that right heel back. One more deep breath. Place that right foot down onto the mat and press the heel down closer towards the ground as though you're trying to place that heel down. You might have to push into the hand to do that, but you want to be able to feel the stretch to the back of your right leg into the calves, into your right calf and your right thigh. All right, one more deep breath. Soften. Draw that right knee in under the belly, knee towards the nose towards the knee, rounding the spine, and then place that right knee down to the ground. Take that left leg, stretch it back about hip height or so. Press that left heel back and try to engage your core, keeping the shoulders and hips level to the ground best as you can. Lower that left foot down onto the ground. Press that left heel a little closer towards the mat. One more deep breath. Soften, knee towards the nose towards the knee, squeeze it in, and then back to tabletop. Take the right leg, stretch it back, about hip height. This time, cross that right foot over behind the left, all the way through to the other side, trying to keep your hips level, preventing it from shifting over to one side or the other. Press that heel down towards the ground. So you should feel a different kind of stretch, maybe a little bit more to the outside of the right hip this way. Soften, release back into your regular leg extension, right leg back, and then knee in towards the nose in towards the knees, squeezing it in, and then back to tabletop. Okay, let's do the same thing on the other side. Take the left leg, stretch it back about hip height. Cross that left foot to the outside of the right. Press that heel back. Again, try to prevent the hips from shifting one side or the other. Good. And then back up. Knee towards the nose towards the knee. Crunch it in. And then back into tabletop. Just give the wrist a little bit of a roll out, one wrist and then the other. Okay. And then we're going to take your toes and curl them under behind you. Walk your hands forward about half a foot to a foot to where they previously were, and then let your head drop in between the arms, keeping the hips up high. So you're starting to get a stretch to the front of the shoulders. If you need to, walk the knees back a little so that you're able to feel that stretch a little bit more. And if you're pretty flexible through the shoulders, you might even want to let your chest melt a little closer towards the ground. You just take one more deep breath here. Deep inhale. And slow exhale. And start to make your way back up. Walk your hands back into tabletop. And if you're okay to come into downward facing dog, do so. If not, just stay in your tabletop and just stretch those legs out. If down dog is not for you, too much pressure on your wrists or shoulders, stay in tabletop, stretch it out. If you're okay to come into downward facing dog, go for it. Curl your toes under, lift the hips up and back. Your down dog, adjust until you get that V shape. And then rise up onto your tiptoes, bend both knees, and then straighten one leg and then the other. Just a little pedal out here. Bend one knee and then the other slowly. Yeah. And then find your way into a forward bend. You can either walk your hand in or walk your feet forward to the top of the mat and just arrive in a forward bend. Your knees can be a little soft and just let the upper body drape forward. Feel free to move around a little here if you want to. Gently shake your head or nod your head. Maybe roll out the shoulders a little, sway the body side to side. Good. And then as you come back to the middle, just pause there for a moment. Next inhale, bend your knees and slowly take your time. No rush at all. Make your way up to standing. Just drawing the shoulders away from the ears once you get to the very top. Just making some adjustments. Okay, so as you stand tall, you're going to have your hips level to the ground, your feet about hips width apart. Okay, and we're going to take a very gentle side stretch here. You can slide your right hand down the left hand down the left leg, and take your left hand and shoot it across to the other side. And if that's too much, you can just place that hand on the waist. Just feel that side stretch in a different way, but also a good way. Good. One more deep breath. And then come on back up to standing. We'll do the same thing on the other side. Slide that left hand down the left leg. Did I get it right? No, right hand down the right leg. And then we're going to stretch the left hand all the way over to the other side. So you get a good stretch here. Good, one more. And then we'll come back up to standing. Interlace the fingers behind your back and press the hands slightly away from the hips as you bow forward. And so you can go as deep as you want to here. A slight lift will do as long as you're feeling this in your shoulders. And you can gently draw the arms over to one side. Just in your own way, it doesn't have to be a lot. Just a slight movement, and then to the other side. And then back to the middle, to the other side, to the first side. And the other side. And then release your hands and let your arms dangle down towards the ground. Hands on your shins, lift up halfway, flat back. Exhale to fold and come on all the way back up. You can have your knees bent and slide your hands up the front of the legs. Roll the shoulders away from your ears. Okay. Next, we're going to bring our hands into prayer position and work on our tree pose. So balancing on the left leg first. Spread those left toes. Bring the right foot to either just touching the ground or the inside of that left shin bone. The knee doesn't have to open up a lot. You just want to try to keep those hips in line and not pivoting open to one side or the other. Hands can remain in prayer, or you can stretch them out if you prefer. If you need a little bit more, you can always bring that right foot to the inside of the left thigh instead. So avoid just pressing that foot against the knee. You want to be below the knee or above the knee. So wherever you end up, find your gaze, find your arm position, relax the shoulders, and then breathe. Find a point to focus on with your gaze. Take 2 more deep breaths. Good. Release that right foot down into the ground. Give that a little bit of a shake off, and then we'll do the same thing on the other side. Transfer your weight to the right leg. Find the position for your left foot. Again, it can be on the calf. Touching the ground is fine. Slight touch. Or bring that foot to the inside of the right thigh. Okay. Your hands can be in prayer position, or you can stretch them up and overhead. Again, find your focal point and breathe. One more deep breath. Try to lift just a little taller and then relax and give that a little bit of a shake off. Next, we'll take our legs and stretch them wide. Wide angle forward bend. So as you do this, you want to open up wide enough to begin to feel a bit of a stretch to the back, to the insides of the legs, but not so wide that you have to bend your knees as you come into this forward bend. So find a good position. About legs width is good for most people. Hands on the waist. Inhale to lift and lengthen the spine. And as you exhale, you may want to bring your hands down onto the ground. And if the ground seems too far away, grab a hold of a block or two so that it helps lifts the ground up to you. Take another inhale to lengthen that spine. Lift up a little. Press the hips back, reach the crown of the head forward, and try to keep the spine long as you bow into your forward bend. Avoid rounding out too much the low back. In your own way, walk your hands slightly over to the left side of the mat. Doesn't have to be a lot, just a slight shift. And feel the stretch a little differently to the back of the leg. And then we bow slightly over to the left side. And then come on back to the center, and then we bow slightly over to the right side. Come on back to the middle, back to the center, and again, if you need a block, grab it. But we're placing the right hand directly under the face. So lift up a little, right under the face, place your right hand on the floor or on a block, and your left hand can be at your waist. Try to get the left shoulder a little higher than the right. Chest is facing the right side, and you can keep that hand where it is, or lift the hand up towards the ceiling, that left hand up towards the ceiling. Try reaching those hands away from one another. One more deep breath. And then release, bring both hands back down into the ground. Pause here for a moment, take those deep breaths. Right, and then we're going to place the left hand under the face. And place your right hand on the waist. Now press down into the left hand to get the right shoulder higher than the left. And then when you want to stretch that right hand up, you'll do so. If not, just keep it at the waist. If you've got both arms extended, try reaching away from one another. Reach those hands away from one another. A little bit more active. Good. One more deep breath. And then we'll release, soften. And then we're going to start to make our way back up to standing. Hands on your waist. Slowly. With your inhale, strongly come back up. Inhale. All the way back up to standing. Toe heel your feet in, inch them in towards one another. And then we're just going to make our way down into a seated position. Oh, actually, let's make our way down into tabletop so that we can come into our dragon pose. Just a little bit more of a stretch for the hips. So low lunge or dragon pose. Tabletop is a good place to start, or downward facing dog as well. And have your blocks handy in case you need it for this next pose. So tabletop or downward facing dog. Step the right foot forward in between the hands and make sure that your left knee is at least slightly behind the hips. Point that back toe, make sure it's straight back, and let the hips press down and forward. So pelvic bone presses down and forward as though you're trying to place that left thigh on the ground. Hands on the ground is a great choice. If you have those blocks handy, you can prop your hands up on the block, and that's on those blocks, and that allows your belly to lift off the front thigh and gives you a deeper stretch for the front of the right hip. You can also place your hands on your thighs. Allow the shoulders to soften. Lift your chin up a little. Good. Let's take 3 more breaths. Release and Make your way back to your tabletop or your downward dog, and just give that a little bit of movement, some intuitive movements. Next, we're coming into a toe stance for the feet. Curl your toes under behind you, tuck the toes under, and start to walk your hands in closer towards the body. If this starts to feel excruciating on the toes already, just stay with your hands on the ground, a little bit of weight to the feet. If it's okay and you're not feeling quite that much, start to make your way up to seated. Now you're placing quite a bit of weight on your toes, on your feet. If it's okay for you to stay there, stay. If it's too much, you can always lean forward a little bit more. So let's take about 3 to 5 breaths here. Try to really focus on your breath. Two more. Okay, and then we'll start to walk the hands back forward. One at a time, uncurl your toes, point one toe and then the other, and just give it a little wriggle, a little bit of movement. Okay, and then we'll do our dragon pose or low lunge on the other side. So from down dog or tabletop, bring the left foot forward, up in between the hands, and have your right knee at least slightly behind the right hips. Point the toes, point the right toes. Okay. Let the hips sink down and forward, press it. The pelvic bone down towards the ground, and you'll take your modifications. Blocks, hands on the front thigh is a great option. Relax the shoulders, lift your chin up a little, and breathe. Take one more deep breath. And then you release. Bring your hands back down onto the ground. Find your way back to your tabletop or downward facing dog. A little bit of movement. And then we're going to come and grab a seat. So come on down into a seated position. Again, you can make use of your blankets and make your life a little bit more comfortable. And come and grab a seat. So in this seated position, we're going to take our seated twist. You can take your right leg and stretch it out in front of you and draw your left foot in and place your same left foot to the outside of the right thigh. Option to tuck that extended leg in. If that's too much, you can find a steady base, then go ahead and stretch that leg out instead, okay? So seated nice and tall, make sure you're able to find some stability here. Your left hand is somewhere behind you for a little support. Take your inhale to reach that right hand up, sit tall, and then as you exhale, you can either wrap your right arm around that left knee, or you can take the elbow to the outside and find a little deeper twist that way. So hold it here. Send your gaze behind, over that left shoulder, and then breathe. One more deep breath. Unwind back to the front and bow to the opposite side. Inhale, come on back up, uncross the legs and let those knees drop side to side in windshield wipers. And then let's do the same thing on the other side. Right foot to the outside of the left thigh with the option of tucking the left foot in as well. Right hand somewhere behind you, just a little support. Take an inhale to sit nice and tall, reach tall, and then either wrap that left arm around the right knee or bring the elbow to the outside and look for that twist. Take one more deep breath. Come on back to the front. Inhale back to the front. Bow to the opposite side. And inhale back up to seated. And cross those legs. Lean back slightly. Hands supporting you. And let those knees gently drop to one side. Back to the center and over to the other side. And just a few of these on your own. We're going to set up to come into just your regular forward bend. So I'm just going to turn sideways so that you can see me here, but you're going to stretch your legs out. Okay. And if you have any issues with your knees at all, you can't keep the legs too straight, just tuck a little blanket under the knees instead. Okay, so roll it up, place it under the knees. If not, your legs are straight, your toes are curled up towards the ceiling. Inhale to lift and lengthen, and exhale, reach your belly forward, grab a hold of whatever's available to you, your feet, your ankles, or your shins. Okay, take another inhale to lift, and then exhale to fold. If this is too much for you and you can't even bow to begin with, have your hands slightly behind you. Press down into your fingertips or onto your hands to sit tall. But wherever you end up, hold it there, belly towards the thighs. It's okay to relax your chin a little, but try not to round and try not to bring your forehead towards the knee. Instead, think belly towards the thigh, chest on your thighs, and then finally nose towards your shin, crown of the head towards the feet. One more deep breath. And then we'll soften it. All right, come on all the way back up. Place your hands behind you, about a foot and a half behind you, fingertips pointing back. Bend your knees so that you can set yourself up first. Okay, and you can do this with your knees bent, just reaching your chest up towards the ceiling. It should get a great stretch for the shoulders that way. If you want a little bit more, stretch those legs out, point your toes, and do the same thing. Okay, lift your chest up. One more deep breath. And then release, soften, walk your hands back in towards the body. And then we're going to come down onto our back and do bridge pose. And then we'll use our bolster or pillow for a nice supported fish pose instead. So moving the blankets aside, just coming down onto your back. Hugging your knees in and just giving a good roll out here, massaging the low back, rocking side to side or some circular movements. For our bridge pose, we're going to place our feet flat on the ground, knees about hips width apart, and just lifting the hips off the mat. Okay, we're going to just add just a little bit of movement here with the breath. Inhale to lower slightly, and then exhale to lift up. Do that again a couple more times. Inhale to lower. Exhale to lift up. And this time you're just holding it here. Okay, pressing the hips up high. If you want a deeper back bend, just kind of shimmy your arms in under the body. Interlace the fingers. Press the hands down into the floor. Lift the hips up high and hold it here. Press down into the big toes. Inner arches of your feet tends to open up. So let's hold it here. Just focusing on planting the feet firmly on the ground. One more deep breath. And then we'll release and slowly just roll the spine down onto the ground. Pausing here for a moment. You may need to collapse the knees into one another just to relax that low back, any tension that has been created. And slowly draw your knees into the chest. And now towards the outer ribs, to the outside of your ribs. Just grab a hold of your shin, your ankles, or your feet on the inside. Just grab a hold of it. And make sure that you're trying to keep your shin straight up and down as though it's a pole sticking straight up from the ground. So wherever you end up grabbing, be happy with it. Knees to the outside. So this is like a deep squat on your back. Also known as happy baby pose. Let's take one more deep breath. Okay, and then release. Bring your feet down onto the ground and just on your own, take some windshield wipers. And we'll do a spinal twist next. You can do your favorite spinal twist. The one that we're doing today is we're going to stretch the left leg out and draw the right knee into the chest and simply gather your right knee over to the left side, the other arm using the opposite arm. And then your right arm can just stretch out shoulder height. You can turn your gaze to the opposite side. Inhale back to the center and do the same thing on the other side. Your left knee gathers in. Use the opposite arm to guide that left knee to the right side. And your left arm stretches out shoulder height and you turn your gaze away from the knees. You breathe. Inhale, come on back to the center. Just hug your knees into the chest. Give that a little bit of a roll out. And we're coming on to our back supported fish. And it's a great way to stretch out the upper chest. If you have a bolster or a pillow handy, go ahead and grab it. If you do not have any props handy with you, or you just have your blanket, you can also roll up your blanket and place it along the length of your spine instead. So that makes a good alternative for the bolster. So come on down to your back onto that bolster. Okay. All along the length of your spine. If this feels a little bit too much for you, you can always bring your bolster up at an incline as well using some props to lift it up. So, great way to do it. Place your bolster at an incline. Gives you just a little bit more, less of a bump at the low back. So as you come down to your back, play around with the angle of your arms. Usually around shoulder height gives a great stretch to the upper chest, but if that's too extreme for you today, you can lower the arms down a little bit. Legs stretched out is great, but if you want to bring, a lot of my clients prefer to bring the soles of the feet together and allow the knees to open up, and that gives you a bonus in a thigh stretch. So we're going to stay here for about 8 to 10 breaths. And if you need to come out sooner than that, please feel free to do so. We're going to carry this right into Savasana. So you can stay here for the rest of your Savasana as well. I'll give you the cue for that. If not, you can simply make your way out of your supported fish pose and just come on down to your back. Your choice. So let's close our eyes. Allow the shoulders to relax and take those deep breaths. You can choose to remain as you are in supported fish pose or move into Shavasana. So just finding comfort in a comfortable position for your Shavasana. And if you choose to leave us right here, thank you very much for joining us for the class today. If not, let's move into our Shavasana. So come on down to your backs. If you choose to come into Shavasana, make sure that the body is even as you come down. Splay those feet evenly, arms evenly. Allow your shoulders to relax and close your eyes. Let the body grow heavy and sink deep into your space. Let tension ease off the body. And with calm, relaxed body, calm, relaxed mind, enjoy your Shavasana. Enjoy peace. Peacefully and gently make your way back onto your mat. Start with some small movements of your fingers, your toes, your wrists and ankles. Take it into circular movements just to awaken the body, even letting the head drop side to side. If you'd like to take a big stretch, reach your arms overhead, stretch from toes to fingers, big inhale. And exhale to let it go. Maybe one more hug of the knees into the chest for a roll out. And whenever you're ready, you can make your way back up. Thank you very much for joining me today. Namaste.